Trent joins us right now. And Trent, you actually had interaction with Craig Sager, didn't you?
I did, yeah. About, I want to say it was 12, 15 years ago. I was playing in that golf tournament in Lake Tahoe, and that TBS crew was more involved back then. And got to spend a couple of days around them. And I'll just say, and I just heard what Don was saying, I'll say two things. Number one, he had the ability, whether you knew him well or not, to just make you feel better about yourself. Like, there's those guys you just hang around and you just feel like a better human being because you're around them.
Right.
He was one of those guys in my brief time around him those years ago. And I've kind of watched his battle. I watch a lot of NBA, so I'm obviously watching a lot of them on TV. And so inspirational. And I heard you say, Don, that the win is in, kicking its butt while you're still competing with life. I got to see that firsthand with Stuart Scott. And I can't begin to tell you, watching Stuart Scott's journey with him, through cancer and working with him as he was fighting it, and going onto the bus at halftime after doing a pregame show with him, and he could barely keep his eyes open because he was so exhausted. But when the red light went on after the game, he was enthusiastic and in it, and wanted to have a great team feel for our show, and what that did for me. I mean, the one part of the victory is what you do for others as you're battling cancer. And I know how much Stewart's fight meant to me, meant to all of us in Monday Night Countdown, all of us in the postgame show, all of us that he touched at ESPN. I could just imagine that Craig's fight did the same thing for everybody he was around.
Now, the thing that amazed me, too, and I mentioned this earlier, is that the relationship he had with the players, where when he got sick, all the players, the first question, they wouldn't answer it. They would just want to ask him, how you feeling, how you doing, thanks for being here. And you played the game. You know the disconnect sometimes between the media and the player, and we're not supposed to rub elbows. We're not supposed to have relationships. So that really just shows you how impactful he was to those players, because that doesn't always happen between players and the media.
Authenticity. He was just authentic. I think anybody, we live this world, but there's guys in this industry that are just very authentic, and they treat everybody the same. Nobody's bigger than the next guy. They treat everybody with a healthy dose of respect and admiration, and they're just authentic in the way they live their lives. And, again, Craig was that way, Stuart was that way, and I think that's why they're endeared by not just players, but everybody they interacted with.
We're talking with our good friend Trent Dilfer, and we'll talk more mundane things like actually what's going on the football field. So let me put your expertise to work here, Trent. We watch Eli every play, and you wonder, are his numbers down and he's not being as effective because he's going to be 36 in a week, or is it because his offensive line is bad?
I think it's more offensive line, and I think he's still adjusting to the system. I think he really likes this system. And the quick throws, the quick, I call it a quick piercing offense. We're trying to pierce the defense on rhythm. I think you've seen the upside of that, but you've also seen the inconsistencies when you can't protect. And you can't really run the ball with authority. Now, they've done a better job the back half of the season running the ball, but it's hard to be super consistent as a quarterback when you know you can't take a second hitch. When it is back foot hits, throw, back foot hits, one hitch and throw, and anything after that, you're playing with fire. And they've also Eli was one of the best play-action guys in football. If you go back to their Super Bowl run, they started getting Tiki going, and they were running the rock, and then you can turn his back to the defense, that hard play action, the deep crossing route, or the deep corner route, or take the shot on the post. Like, he could just knife the defense in play action. But when you're a shotgun, hurry-up, West Coast quick-passing team, and you don't have a lot of success running the football, and you're never playing with a fullback, I think he's having to learn how to make the big play when it doesn't come off play action. It sounds weird to say he's played this much football and he's learning something new, but it's still an adjustment.
The offense just seems broken to me, Trent, and the defense certainly carried the day against Dallas, but they've got to fix this. Is it fixable this late in the season? Is it fixable for the head coach, Ben McAdoo, to maybe work a little bit more with Sullivan to get it corrected, or is it just replacing players at this point?
No, I think this is pie-in-the-sky analysis here, so this is best-case scenario. I think this is the time of year, and I've seen teams do this. You've heard the mantras, keep doing what we do, and we're going to do it better than they know what we're going to do. That's not necessarily true. I've seen teams go on Super Bowl runs where what they do about this time of the year is they say, hey, there's a book written on it. and they think we're going to do this. And we're going to come out, we're going to be a little more under center. We're going to run the ball a little bit more on early downs. And we're going to change up our MO. We're going to play less 11 personnel, which is 1 tight end, 3 wide receivers. We're going to change our personnel groupings up a little bit. And we're going to kind of reinvent who we are for 30% of the game to create some big plays off of it. I think that's very doable. And I think they have the coaching expertise to do it. And they have the personnel to do it. They don't have to have all 3 of the receivers on the field all the time. I think you need to have Odell on the field all the time. But you don't need to have the other 2 on the field all the time. I think you can mix and match your personnel. I think you can go under center and hand the ball off under center a little bit more and set up some play-action opportunities. And it's not the full offense. It's not restructuring the whole offense. It's tinkering and doing something to keep the teams you're playing a little off balance. And I think that's something that we may see them do. And if they do it, I think they'll be very successful doing it as well.
Trent, he seemed very comfortable with Ben McAdoo as the offensive coordinator, put up great stats the 2 years that he was in that position. Now McAdoo is the head coach. Is there a difference? Can McAdoo still be that hands-on, or are there so many responsibilities that Eli is probably getting the message from second or third parties rather than McAdoo?
So you'll hear really smart people on both sides of this fence. So this is a great argument, actually. It's a great discussion. I am from the school of thought that you can be sophisticated enough to be the head coach and be the CEO of the team, yet still be very hands-on with your experts, wherever you're an expert on that side of the ball. Mike Zimmer is a good example in Minnesota. I believe that's possible. But a lot of really smart people that have been very successful in football will tell the Ben McAdoos of the world, don't do it. You hired that guy to run the offense, let him run the offense, and you go run the team. I personally think that's a mistake when you were the coordinator and your players had success under you as the coordinator. They learned a certain messaging. They learned a certain method of operation. They learned to read between the lines when you were the coordinator. Now they're having to relearn that from somebody else. So why wouldn't you build off the success you had as the coordinator and still be the main voice of the offense? That's always been my take on it. But again, there are people that I, would bow down to in the NFL world that are much smarter than me that don't think that's the right way to do it. I just, as a player and looking at this thing globally now for 9 years, I always present the argument is, why wouldn't you continue to build off something you already built as the coordinator?
So, Trent, do you see a run in this football team?
Yeah, I do. I'm definitely a believer. I love the closeout mentality of their defense. Losing JPP definitely will have a long-term impact. I know it didn't last week. That gives me pause. And I'm also giving pie-in-the-sky analysis. I think if they do the things I said, if they kind of go against the grain offensively and change up a little bit, continue to play the style of defense, I do. I don't think anybody in the NFC is great. I don't think anybody in football is great right now except maybe the Patriots. I don't think teams have so many flaws that if you have confidence, if you have belief in one another, trust in one another, and enough juice, enough RPMs, which I think the Giants have, then why can't you? I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't go on a run.
Trent, is there any way that you see Jason Garrett, going to Romo if the kid is healthy but just not playing well?
I wouldn't, but yes, I see that being a possibility.
Why wouldn't you?
I wouldn't risk the long tail on this thing. They have the opportunity now to go on a 4 to 6 year run with this group because they're young, they're cheap, they're not going to have to pay the quarterback, so they can pay other players, they can be aggressive in free agency, get Romo's salary off the books. You know what you could do with that long? I mean, you can really build a bully here in Dallas. And if you mess with it this year to chase this 1 year where you think you're good enough to win a Super Bowl, and you compromise that, you could do long-term damage to Dak Prescott and his kind of status within the team. And we're making huge assumptions to think that Tony Romo, after 18 months of not playing football, is going to come back and, number one, stay healthy. He's proven he can't stay healthy. So that's a massive leap of faith to say that he's going to come in there and actually be able to play and stay healthy. Number two, who's to say he's going to play well? He hasn't played in 2 years. Who's to say he's going to come in and actually see the field as clearly, make the throws he used to make, have the second reaction abilities with his movement and his legs, make the crisp decisions at the line of scrimmage that he was so good at. I mean, we just assumed because he did it at a high level for so many years, he's going to be able to jump in and do it. I'm not personally going to make that assumption.
Before we let you go, I want you to tell us about this Super Bowl Kid Reporter initiative that you're part of.
Yeah, super easy, super quick. Listen, everybody buys trading cards. Why wouldn't you? They're so awesome these days. It's so much better than the old cardboard card you'd get of me with my mullet on the back and all my interceptions listed. And now they're, like, really cool. Now you look at the card and, like, oh, my gosh, this thing's dope. So everybody's buying cards. Go buy a Panini brand card. Get them at Walmart, Target, any hobby shop. And in these cards, you're going to get a specially coded card. Enter the code at www.paninikidreporter.com. And if you win, a bunch of cool things are going to happen, but only one buzzkill. Here's the cool thing. You get to go to the Super Bowl, get to go to the game, get to go to media night with your family. You get to walk around to all the media booths where the players are at and ask them questions, have interaction with them. You get to be on TV. People are going to interview you. You're going to be like a little superstar. The only negative to this whole promotion is that you got to do it with me, because you come out on Monday and you got to meet with me all day long, and we hang out, and I teach you how to be a reporter and how to ask questions and lay out a strategy to get around all media night. And by the end of the night, the parents and kids are, "Ooh, that was awesome, but can we do it with somebody else next year?" But besides doing it with me, it's a great experience. The kids love it. They feel awesome about it. It's the only promotion I say yes to each year, and I actually get really excited about doing it because the kids light up, and they walk out of media night 8 feet tall. You know, like they just conquered the world. It's really cool for them.
And it's Panini Kid Reporter, P-A-N-I-N-I, kidreporter.com, and that's how you enter, right?
Yeah, super easy.
Yeah, very easy. Listen, we appreciate you coming on. We always do. Have a really, really Merry Christmas.
Always fun to talk to you guys. Merry Christmas.